The long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y is canceled. US-built Model 3s now have heated steering wheels. Full self-driving will take you home or to the hospital automatically. The refreshed Model S and X steering yoke is starting to be approved around the world, and more. There's a lot to cover today, so let's get into it. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the channel. First up today, Tesla has officially canceled the long-range rear-wheel drive variant of the Model Y. Tesla has really surprised us with the Model Y lineup offerings, having released the standard range about a month ago after Elon tweeted that it would not be released, and now canceling the long-range rear-wheel drive model after Elon tweeted that it would be released. Tesla has begun reaching out to those that pre-ordered a long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y at launch time about changing their order to a standard range or a long-range all-wheel drive. In an attempt to make things somewhat right, Tesla has promised to honor a price of $7,000 for the full self-driving package to the people in this situation, which is what the price of FSD was at the time they pre-ordered the Model Y long-range rear-wheel drive. With the 7-seat option and the standard range variant now available, it seems that we have the Model Y lineup set in stone at this point. I personally think the cancellation of the long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y is a shame, as was the cancellation of the long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3, since it proved to be such a great value in terms of range per dollar. The increased range that you got for $4,000 less than the all-wheel drive model was very enticing, and we can only assume that a similar range and cost comparison would have existed with these variants of the Model Y. Yes, there are benefits in performance and handling that come with the all-wheel drive variant, but range is king when it comes to EVs. And paying more money for less range is a tough sell in my opinion, especially because when it comes to handling in snowy or icy conditions, the benefits of the all-wheel drive system are not as substantial as you might immediately think because of Tesla's incredible traction control system. This is evidenced by the many winter weather reviews that can be found on the internet of Tesla's rear-wheel drive configuration. I am hoping to purchase a Tesla sometime this year or early next year, and for all the reasons I just discussed, a used long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3 has been on my radar for a while now. Stay tuned and make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on that front. Next up, we have some interesting new info from Elon Musk that came out of his interview with auto industry expert Sandy Munro. Sandy was incredibly impressed with the FSD beta when he got the opportunity to experience it, and Elon talked about a couple interesting features that they plan to add to the final public version. He said if the car detects that you have fallen asleep at the wheel, it will take you home, because that is likely where you should be if you are falling asleep. Or that if the car detects you are having health issues like a heart attack, for example, it will take you to the nearest hospital. Clearly, the first feature about taking you home if you fall asleep wouldn't make much sense if you are, for example, on vacation somewhere across the country, because you wouldn't want your car to attempt to drive you all the way back home in these cases. But maybe the car will take you to your last destination in these scenarios, which would likely be where you are staying at that point in time. In any case, it's an interesting feature to say the least. Sandy and Elon also discussed single-piece castings, and Elon noted that they fully intend on bringing the single-piece casting used in the Model Y over to the Model 3, but the problem with doing that lies in having to retool the Model 3 assembly line. Elon said, quote, "It's hard to change the wheels on the bus when it's going 80 miles per hour down the highway," end quote, and that they need an opportunity to change the Model 3 assembly line without blowing up the cash flow of the company. Speaking of single-piece castings, Tesla released a rare close look at the Model Y giga press at Fremont in action, showing how truly incredible this piece of machinery is. They also released a video of the Shanghai giga press and the Model Y assembly line in general. It has been apparent that the Shanghai factory's output rate is quite amazing, but the incredible efficiencies gained by both the giga press and other streamlined procedures in the Model Y assembly line have allowed an output of one Model Y every 2 minutes, according to a Chinese automotive media network. That is incredible, especially considering that this rate of production translates to an annual output of 250,000 Model Ys per year. And remember, this is just the Model Y in Shanghai we're talking about, not the Model 3 in Shanghai or any vehicles produced in the US. Speaking of Tesla vehicles produced in the US, the Fremont manufactured Model 3 is now being produced with a heated steering wheel. Tesla Motors Club user 808 Bob has published a post on the forum confirming this, noting that the setting to turn on the heated steering wheel is located in the seat heater section, just like it is reported to be on the newest Model Ys manufactured in Fremont as well. Bob also notes that there is only one heat setting for the steering wheel, rather than 3 settings like there are for the heated seats, and that his car has a production date of February 2021 with a VIN that is in the 902,000s. Switching gears a bit, we have some news about the long-rumored Apple car. and it is looking more and more likely that the rumored Apple car will be manufactured in the US. CNBC has reported that, according to a Korean newspaper, Apple and Hyundai Kia are close to making a deal worth $3.6 billion that would result in the Apple car being manufactured in the Kia factory located in West Point, Georgia. Although the report is confident in the possibility of this deal, it also stresses that Apple could very likely partner with another automaker with or without a Hyundai-Kia partnership. Despite partnering with an automaker, the report says that this will be an Apple car through and through, rather than a Kia car where Apple controls the hardware and software. This seems like a logical move for Apple, as they will seemingly get all the benefits of producing a car to their liking without having to set up their own manufacturing process and go through production hell, as Elon Musk likes to call it. One interesting note in the report is that the first Apple cars produced are planned to be driverless vehicles. According to CNBC, a source familiar with the matter said, quote, "The first Apple cars will not be designed to have a driver. These will be autonomous electric vehicles designed to operate without a driver and focused on the last mile." This is interesting, although in my opinion, this does not put the Apple car in direct competition with Tesla. As a consumer in today's market, I would be much more inclined to buy a vehicle that both I could drive as well as one that could drive me, like a Tesla can. If the Apple car is indeed designed to be driverless, this could position the car well to tap into delivery or transportation businesses, rather than being competitive in the general consumer market. The latest rumors suggest that the car is slated to go into production in 2024, so we will have to wait and see how this develops. Finally, we have some news about the refreshed Model S and X steering yoke. As I discussed in my last video, which you can watch by clicking the link in the description, the new steering yoke that Tesla unveiled is under scrutiny by the NHTSA here in the United States, and there were some hidden images in the source code of Tesla's website showing a circular steering wheel inside the refreshed Model S and X. But this past week, we have gotten word that the yoke steering wheel has gotten approved in both the Netherlands and the United Kingdom. Teslarati has reported that the local driving licensing and registration body in the Netherlands, called the RDW, has determined that the steering yoke is allowed for public use, saying, quote, "The shape of the steering wheel is not prescribed anywhere in the EU or UNECE legislation." The RDW also notes that some form of non-circular steering wheels already exist, and that they add a decent level of practicality, saying, quote, "Many cars already have a flattened steering wheel at the bottom. Not only does this make getting in easier, but it's also easier to recognize which position the steering wheel is in. The tendency is that more and more vehicles will have regular steering wheels in the future. The number of revolutions from far left to far right is also unregulated. If this is only from -90 to +90 degrees, there is no reason why you have to have an upper rim. Then 2 handles will suffice." This is actually a great point, as there have been many times when I've gotten into my car and taken my foot off the brake to begin moving in reverse, when I realize that my steering wheel is not in the 0 position, and I quickly have to correct so that my front wheels are oriented straight as I reverse. Similar to the Netherlands, the United Kingdom's Department for Transportation gave a short but sweet response to the question of the steering yoke's legality, stating, quote, "The regulations relating to the steering equipment does not stipulate any shape or size of the steering wheel." So it looks like the steering yoke can legally become a reality in at least some parts of the world. But we are still waiting for a response from the NHTSA as to whether or not we will see the yoke come to life in the US versions of the new Model S and X. What do you think of the steering yoke, the Apple car, or any of the other items we discussed today? I personally would prefer a circular steering wheel over the yoke, and I'm incredibly interested to see what Apple ultimately unveils for their Apple car, simply because I think Apple's laptops and smartphones are the best in their respective markets. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more videos like this in the near future. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch today, and I will see you in the next video.